in the Old Testament, the prophets, they dealt with the famines. They could solve the natural issue with the supernatural resources. When that issue has been brought into the prophet, the lady was telling, "Oh, there is nothing left in my home except little bit of oil." For her, the oil is nothing. But for the prophet, the oil is everything. Because there are things that you think this is least important, maybe most valuable in the eyes of God. The widow went to the temple and she put few coins. In humans' eyes, the few coins is little bit. But in the eyes of the Lord, that was a huge thing. If you don't see there is a miracle in the little oil, you spill it, you ignore it. But sometimes that is what really God is looking for, because in his eyes, this is not something, the last thing. Her husband has borrowed money from everyone. Now the people whom she owes money is ready to take her kids. Now what the prophet is saying, do the exact the same thing. Now you need to go and borrow the jars. Husband borrowed money and in trouble. Now the man of God is telling, go and borrow the jars. What are you going to do with the little oil? That is the problem, because she doesn't know how the oil functions. So there should be somebody to tell her, this oil is not a dead oil. This oil can still work. For her, the oil was dead. For her, the oil there is no use of it. But sometimes this is how we approach many things. This is useless. But who said it is useless? Sometimes you say, you think that, okay, this is so precious. And God said, no, don't even touch that. So how do we understand these things? Unless there is somebody to open your eyes and show you there is something is there in your hand. That is enough to solve your problem. Can you imagine that? If you have little oil and you don't know that oil can multiply, that's what even the other widow, and she said, we have only one bread and little oil that we are about to eat and die. And the prophet said, bring that to me, because I know how the oil functions. You don't know how the oil functions. I'm not talking about the oil in her jar. I'm talking about the oil in his life. Because if the oil in his life is dead, the oil in the jar will be dead. The difference between that widow and Elijah was, she had oil in the jar, but Elijah had oil on his head. That oil was enough to change the dead oil in her hand. There is a way this both oil will connect together. The oil will tell you, can you work on the little things that you have it? If we can understand the manner of the oil function, we can tap into miracle easily.